They say nothing lasts forever. We usually whisper this when the good things end. At funerals, when someone we loved is gone, or when the garden fades, or at the last gasp of the glorious sunset. Nothing gold can stay. But the first time it truly meant something to me was when I was in the thick of raising 3 kids. I was tired, I was broke, and I was trying to parent while wrestling with an invisible disability that I didn't yet understand. It wasn't about flowers fading or summers ending. It was about diapers and screaming and dishes and how long the days could feel when the people in them were sticky and small. Nothing lasts forever, not even this. That became my mantra. Hello, friends, and welcome to Museum of the Ancestors. This is a place where memory blooms quietly, between stories, between generations, between the things we keep and the things we let go. Today, I'm setting the pieces into place, the flowers, the shelves, the faded tools, and for the first time, I'm beginning to see the greenhouse, not just as a collection of parts, but as something whole. A little like memory, a little like motherhood. It's only when you step back that you understand what it's really been all along. Parenting seemed extra hard for me with all the little minutiae that you have to keep up with. I didn't know I had ADHD at the time. I just thought I was lazy or failing, and I wonder sometimes if my grandmother Mildred felt the same way. She had 3 kids too, my dad and his 2 brothers with just 5 years between the oldest and the youngest. Her husband had type 1 diabetes and a spotty work history. They were poor, very poor, but they lived in a little urban oasis where she kept an immaculate garden. However, she was no housekeeper, and honestly, neither am I. At my father's funeral, my mother said I was just like her. She didn't mean it as a compliment. But you know what my dad used to say every time I apologized for the mess? I came to see you, not your house. My mom and dad were married nearly 50 years, 2 people who saw the world so differently and yet stayed in lockstep with each other until the very end. Maybe that's what Mildred needed more of. Not help necessarily, or money, or even time. She had a long life. But understanding. A world where being overwhelmed didn't mean being broken. Where messiness wasn't moral. Where words like lazy or scatterbrained were replaced with something softer. Something closer to the truth. When I build these tiny worlds, I think of her, and of me, and of every tired woman who did the best she could. Not perfectly, but honestly. Who found meaning in the mess. Who chose the flowers over the floors. Somewhere along the line, messiness became a moral issue. A clean house meant you were good. A messy one? Lazy, undisciplined, a failure. But what if that's not true? What if some of us just weren't wired for tidiness? What if our brains were busy trying to survive, or create, or protect, and there wasn't much left for organizing sock drawers or scrubbing baseboards? I used to look at my cluttered counters and feel shame. Not disappointment, not annoyance. Shame. Like I was defective, like something was wrong with me. And then I think about Mildred, a woman raising 3 boys in the 1950s with no dishwasher, no internet, and no language for depression or executive dysfunction. She wasn't praised for the things that she built. She was judged for the dust on the things she didn't. But maybe she was never meant to be a housekeeper. Maybe she was meant to be a writer or a gardener or a dreamer. Maybe she was meant to be exactly who she was, mess and all. And if that's true for her, maybe it's true for me too. Maybe Mildred had ADHD too. Maybe she saw the same mess I do and chose to do what mattered instead. Maybe the flowers on the shelf matter more than the dust underneath it. Maybe memory isn't made in clean rooms, but in real ones. Mildred had her first baby in 1948. I had mine in 1994. She was born in 1917 into a world that didn't give women much space to ask questions, let alone have answers. I was born in 1975, and by the time I had kids, the world was full of answers, mostly contradictory ones. Don't co-sleep. No, wait, co-sleep or you're heartless. Never let them cry it out. Except definitely let them cry it out or you will spoil them. I had baby books. She had her sisters and a doctor who smoked in the delivery room. But here's the ironic part. Even with all of that change, we were both still just winging it. Tired, overstimulated, lonely, in a house full of noise. Mildred raised her babies during the age of children should be seen and not heard. I raised mine during the age of if your toddler isn't fluent in Mandarin and classical violin by age 3, you've totally failed. She didn't have Pinterest-perfect birthday parties or color-coded chore charts. But she also didn't have online mom groups telling her she was ruining her child's attachment style because she let them eat a hot dog. Different kinds of pressure, but the same underlying fear. Am I doing this right? Am I enough? And when you're already exhausted, poor, and feeling broken inside, those questions aren't philosophical. They're personal. I don't know if Mildred ever got to feel like she was enough. But I hope she knows now, wherever she is, that she was. And if she was, then maybe I am too. Parenting with ADHD is a lot like trying to herd cats, while also being a cat during a fireworks show. You start with good intentions. You make the chart, you buy the color-coded bins, you print out the daily routine checklist that's going to change everything. And then you lose the chart. The bins get used once, and the checklist gets drawn on, turned into a paper airplane, and launched into the ceiling fan. Ask me how I know. There were entire weeks where I felt like I was living inside a loop of unfinished laundry, forgotten dentist appointments, and mystery smells. Meanwhile, I'd spend 3 hours hyper-focused on reorganizing the spice drawer, while the baby smeared peanut butter into the couch. Every time I opened the fridge, I forgot why I was there. Every time I left the fridge, I remembered. There were days I parented from under a blanket on the floor, days I yelled more than I meant to, and days I couldn't remember if I'd fed the kids. But I had fed the cats, twice. And of course there was the shame, because the world doesn't give gold stars for surviving. It only notices when you mess up. And I did mess up, a lot. But I also made up new words for songs we danced to at the 5:18 p.m. dance break, turned laundry baskets into race cars, and taught my kids how to swear better than any sailor. Here's what I wish someone had told me. That it's fucking hard for everyone, not just me. Nobody has it all figured out. Even the ones with the chore charts and the clean counters and the matching Christmas pajamas. Every parent, every person has moments where they feel like they have failed. At adulthood, at parenthood, at selfhood. They might even live in the hood, and maybe it's all of the above. And yet somehow we still walk around acting like we're the only ones limping through it. I don't think we talk about that enough. That it's okay to be unsure, to be tired, to be deeply in love with your kids and still fantasize about running away to a cabin in the forest where there's nobody touching you or asking for a snack. That you can be a good mother and still be a total mess. That you can love fiercely and still feel like you're drowning sometimes. And maybe most of all, that you're not broken. You're just human in a very hard world, doing your best, and that is enough. When we're young, we judge a lot. Ourselves, our parents, strangers. We think we know how the world should be, how people should behave. But as we get older, those hard edges start to soften. You lean back a little, and you start to understand that most people are just doing the best they can, even if their best doesn't look like much to you. That includes your parents, and that includes your past self. That includes the person in the mirror trying to hold it all together with duct tape and sarcasm. Life is heavy and weird and beautiful, and nobody gets it exactly right. So if you're still in the thick of it, still stuck in the part where the days feel too long and you don't recognize yourself anymore, be gentle with yourself, with the people who raised you, with the ones you're raising. Time hasn't worn your edges down yet, but it will. And when it does, you'll see things differently. You'll feel things differently. And maybe, just maybe, you'll finally see yourself the way the people who loved you always did. This greenhouse, like everything I build, is more than just a miniature. It's a space for memory, a space for healing. It's a space to honor the imperfect folks who came before me, who endured, who loved, who maybe didn't always get it right, but kept going anyway. Mildred didn't leave behind a perfect home, but she left behind stories, laughter, a sense of resilience stitched together from scraps. And maybe that's enough. I hope someday when my own grandchildren look back, they'll see past the mess and remember the love. Because nothing lasts forever. Not the chaos, not the fear, not even this. But the way we show up, the way we try again and again and again, that's what remains. If this story stirred something in you, maybe reminded you of someone, or even helped you be a little kinder to yourself, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And if you're still in the middle of the mess, please know you are not alone, you're not failing, and you are absolutely not broken. Thank you so much for watching, for being here, for sitting in the quiet with me. If this story spoke to you, I would be honored if you'd like, subscribe, or share it with somebody who might need to hear this message too. Until next time, take care of yourself and walk gently with the ones who came before you.